Freemasonry has many curiosities, and, indeed, many mysteries as yet unsolved. Among the former are several often misunderstood words with odd or involved meanings.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation, From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore.
A Hymen Reason is the title still used by South Carolina and Pennsylvania for their books of law. It was used in years gone by also by Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland, and Nova Scotia. It was the title given by Dermot to the Book of Constitutions of the Grand Lodge Ancients of England. Presumably the words had an Hebraic origin, but no one has as yet settled on a translation so authoritative that all are satisfied. Will of selected brethren, secrets of a prepared brother, royal builder, brother secretary, intimate brother secretary, a prepared brother, are all suggested meanings by various scholars who adduce various Hebrew words and their compounds as possibilities for the meaning Dermot had in mind when he first used the syllables as a title. Scholars also dispute the pronunciation. A Hymen Reason is common, but the better scholarship seems to indicate that properly the second word should be pronounced with the accent on the second syllable. Reason. Lewis is an iron tool inserted in a cavity in a large stone, which expanded as it pulled upwards, holding the weight of the stone firmly as it swung through the air by a derrick to its position in the wall of a building. Both the term and the invention are very old. Pennsylvania used it as a symbol of strength, but as such it is absent from the symbolism of other grand jurisdictions. Masonically, the word is universally used to denote the underage son of a Freemason. Obviously, the term has so applied because of the strength of a man's later years in his sons, and the Lewis, in England as in Pennsylvania, is a symbol of strength. In England, a dispensation may be obtained permitting the initiation of a Lewis under 21 years of age. In Scotland, any Lewis may be initiated at 18. In North Dakota, a Lewis may apply to a lodge before he is 21, but cannot be initiated until he has reached man's estate. The classic instance of a Lewis being initiated in this country is George Washington, who was only 20 years and some months of age when he became an entered apprentice in the lodge at Fredericksburg on November 4th, 1752. In France, the term is not Lewis, but Louveteur, but has the same meaning. The Abif of Hiram Abif does not appear in the Bible. The word Abi or Abu or Abiv is translated in the King James Version both as his father and my father, using the word father as a term of respect and not as denoting a parent. Hiram, the widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, was my father in the same sense that Abraham was my father to members of the tribes of Israel. The thought that the two syllables are a surname is obviously in error. The legend gains, not loses in appeal, when Abif becomes a title of honour. Just when and how it came into the Masonic terminology is still a moot point. It does not appear in the Regius document, the oldest of the constitutions, dated approximately 1390, but does appear as only one name among many in the Dowland manuscript of 1550. Apparently, the term was not in common use until after the King James Bible in 1611 had become familiar in Masonic circles. The story of Hiram Abif, as told in the Masonic tale, is not found in the Bible, nor is there any meaning of the word which can be construed as part of the story as Masons tell it, except that of veneration. Dieu garde is two words, forming one, which scholars fight over and Masons accept as a matter of course. Every Mason knows what it is. None, apparently, really knows where it came from. Mackey says that it is a contraction of duly garde. According to the great authority, it is an Americanism and not used abroad now to mean what we mean, even though 200 years ago it was the name given to a sign. Some who dare raise their small voices against the thunder of the great Mackey are convinced that the words are a contraction or alteration of Dieu garde, God guard, of the French. Hayward gives both Mackey and the immediately foregoing as a choice. Dr. Pease is wholly on the side of Mackey. Authorities with less fame still cling to a derivation from the French words, probably because of their poetic content more than any etymological foundations. Universally in this country, a ritualistic difference is perceived between the Dieu gardes and the signs, but as a matter of actual practice, a Dieu garde is a sign and cannot be taken from the category of signs by mere definition. Even the ritualistic definition of a sign does not preclude the Dieu garde from the classification. Compasses and compass. From the standpoint of the dictionary, these are two words with totally different meanings. A compass is a suspended magnet, so balanced that it may turn upon its pivot and orient itself with the north magnetic pole, and thus, with the aid of tables and mathematics, point out the true north. Compasses is the word used to describe that instrument which draws circles and or measures small distances. Sometimes compasses are called dividers, like trousers and scissors. Compasses is always plural when meaning the instrument, except in 6 Grand Lodges of the United States, which use the word compass in the same way as their neighbours use compasses. Compass is a form of the Latin com and passus, with a step, an instrument which is used with a step, in other words, dividers. Masonically, it appears to be more measuring than a circle drawing instrument, although reference to its Masonic use includes circumscribed desires. But its position, open 60 degrees upon a quadrant, as in the symbol of a past master, would seem to indicate that it is more as dividers than as an instrument to draw the arcs of circles that is important Masonically. With the square, it forms 2 of the 3 great lights of Masonry, and has become so universally recognized as a symbol of Freemasonry that courts have forbidden its unauthorized use or its being copyrighted or trademarked for commercial purposes. Few holy Masonic words have been so much talked about and so little understood by the average Mason as cowan. Everyone understands that it is a term of contempt, that it denotes someone wholly without the Masonic circle, but just what its real meaning may be, where the word came from, how it came into our system, is disputed to this day by Masonic scholars. It is generally, not wholly, agreed that it has a Scotch ancestry. Certain old Scottish books lend colour to the theory. According to these terms, a cowan is a man who builds walls without mortar, as any farmhand in America may do, piling into a wall the stones from nearby streams or turned up in ploughing. From this, the term came to be used as meaning an uninstructed mason, a self-taught builder, not one of the trade. Apparently, its earliest appearance is in the Shaw manuscript, dated 1598. It appears in the 2nd or 1738 edition of Anderson's Constitutions. Scott puts the words into the mouth of one of his characters. Whence came the word? A Greek word, kuon, meaning dog, and in early church days infidels were called dogs, probably because of such passages as Matthew 7 verse 6. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs. In Old Swedish, kujon means silly fellow. The French word kuyu means a coward, a base person. Mackey had a different theory, that cowan was either a derivation of or the ancestry of the English word common. Old English spelled the word both cohen and common. If this is correct, cowan, meaning common, is still a term meaning the lesser people, the common people. Also, the English House of Commons, as distinguished from the House of Lords. However derived, the word is now wholly the property of the fraternity, not otherwise used, and means to moderns an uninstructed and ignorant person, one not of the fraternity, just as eavesdropper means to us one who attempts to gain the secrets of Masonry unlawfully. Moderns do not go so far as bloodshed over the word heal or hail, but, in spite of the determinations of philologists and Masonic authorities, who may well be considered final, now and then some more or less learned Freemason wishes to change either the meaning of the word or its pronunciation, or its spelling, or any two, or even all three. Hail is almost invariably associated with the word conceal, as it should be, and hail and conceal may be translated by transposition, conceal and heal. Hail is an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning to conceal. Conceal is Norman and means to hide. Dr. Pease has well brought out that in the 12th and 13th centuries, language in England was part Norman French and part Anglo-Saxon, and that early ritual writers, desiring to make sure that no misunderstanding was possible, often expressed ideas in word pairs, one word from each language. Hence, such phrases as heal or hail and conceal, parts and points, free will and accord, etc. To the objections of those who contend that hail should be pronounced heal because it rhymes with conceal and reveal, the answer is that in the early days of the language, our conceal was pronounced conseil, and our reveal was pronounced reveal. The word hail, meaning to hide, has no connection with the word heal, meaning to make whole again, or Masonically, make legitimate, nor with the word heel, meaning part of the foot, or with the word hail, meaning in good health, or the word hail, meaning to call or to greet. Few words are more wrongly used, at least in Masonic circles, than oath. A candidate takes upon himself a solemn obligation to do certain things and to refrain from certain actions. The word obligation is from the Latin of, to, and legare, to bind. It is a tie, a bond, an agreement, a profession of intention, a responsibility, a duty agreed upon, a constraint of action, a pledge, an acknowledgement of promises made. In no such definitions can be found any similarity to the meaning of the word oath, which is the concluding phrase by which the assumer of the obligation calls upon that which he holds sacred to witness his vow. In a court of law, the witness swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That is an assumed obligation. He ends "So help me God," which is the oath, attesting to the sincerity of his obligation. In taking both obligation and attesting it by the oath, the witness is required to raise his right hand, a curious throwback to ancient days in which a man offered his right hand to be cut off if his oath was broke. Still more an oddity is the small boy's attestation by Golly, made without knowing that he is offering to the ancient goal, or hand, if he tells not the truth. The Masonic obligations are high-minded duties voluntarily assumed by the candidate as their part in becoming brethren of the ancient craft. The oath which they take is their attestation of the validity of the covenants that they thus make. To speak of the whole as a Masonic oath is to name the whole for but a minor part. Words change in meaning as the centuries pass. The classic examples are the word hell and hellfire, which in the King James Version, in Mark, mean a place where refuse and garbage are burned, and in more modern eschatology becomes a place of punishment, somewhat worse than Sheol of the Old Testament. Among words much used in Masonry, too, profane and libertine have changed in meaning with the passage of the years. Anciently, profane came from pro, without, and Fanum, temple, and signified one uninitiated, not within the circle of the craft. Libertine was once a free thinker, one who did not subscribe to the doctrine of the Church. Profane in common parlance is now given to one taking the name of God in vain, and the libertine is a licentious person. Masonically, a profane is merely one not initiated, and an irreligious libertine is an agnostic or an atheist, and not a man of promiscuous habits. Anciently, the word token, from the Anglo-Saxon Tacn, a gesture, a sign, an art, was properly used as we use it Masonically. But through the years it has changed. In common parlance, now it may be an offering of flowers to a lady or a box of cigars to a man. In biblical days, the word was used to signify a memorial or other reminder of a covenant or promise, as the rainbow was a token of a covenant. In Freemasonry, the token is never a thing, it is always an act.
For more Masonic podcasts, videos, music, texts, and artwork, visit fromthequarries.com or subscribe to our YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook accounts by searching From the Quarries.